Hey everyone, it is Ellen from Advocate of Soul Podcasts. And as many of you know, I love the human story, I love the human journey, and I love to see what people are bringing into the world. And the whole idea of us incarnating on this planet is so that we could bring our light, so that we could go through certain things and overcome and bring the tools and the skills and the things that we have that show to other people how they can overcome. And so I'm really, really excited to have just two special guests who happen to be in the Start Over book project that we've all been working on, which is where I met the two of you. And it is just a real honor to have Gareth and Jessica here. You guys are just absolutely amazing. I've been following you on Instagram, love it, love what you're bringing into the world. And so, what I would like you guys to do is begin to just share your journey, your story, however you would like to, and we will generate the content. As you know, it's unfiltered, everybody. I don't at all edit this. So go for it, guys.
Awesome. I'm going to let you start because you're
Okay.
the senior of the two.
I'm not, yeah, I know you mean age. It's really interesting how you brought that in, actually. We were only talking about this yesterday, how it's the things that happen in our lives that get us to where we are. If we didn't have almost the adversity, we wouldn't be the humans that we are. And it's dealing with that, it's getting over that, and it's going through those things that really create the people that we are. But I think the biggest part of that, and the biggest part of that we want to share, is that it's about it's about having the faith and belief in yourself to go through those things and face your fears.
But that's the biggest thing about what we do now, isn't it? Because I don't think you come to that realization until you've been through all of these things and learned all these lessons. And then you get to stand further forward and look back and say to everyone behind you, guys, it's fine. Keep walking forward. But you don't learn that until you've been through it. And that's exactly where we've got to where we are and exactly why we do what we do through the app we've created. That's exactly what the app is for, and that's exactly what drives us and what has driven us to create the app in the first place. That's our way of turning around to everyone else and saying, these are the tools we've used to survive this and get here, please have them. And so yeah, that was a perfect introduction, actually, because that is exactly what we're about.
Yeah, it's for me, that gifts, it's the gift of life, and the gifts that we've received along the way is our learning. And it's for us, it's a case of, if we don't share the gifts that we've been given, what a waste.
Yeah. And I think it's important to know from our point of view, when we say what we've been given, our stories are very independent, and most of our stories are before we even knew each other existed on this world. And so we both lived very different lives that brought us both to a point where, when we met, our work actually crossed over massively. I mean, Gareth is a psychologist and a counsellor. I'm a fitness coach and a nutritionist, and our work crossed over more and more and more. And so we realized, actually, it isn't two separate things. It is just one thing. We are all of it. So whilst our stories, when we say we've been through this, it is very independent, and then we came together to create what we created moving forward.
Yeah.
And that in itself came with its own challenges. But it's whatever the adversity is, there's always this way through. And I think that's the gift that we want to give now.
Yes, yes. And I think we also even learn how to create our own reality from the things that we have been through. And I know that that's like that'll probably come later in this interview, but we do create, these, when we've been through those challenges, there's a strength that we discover inside of us, right? And so we begin to create then out of that strength, which is really quite a powerful thing. And so I know you guys have both mentioned your stories. I would love for you to share your journeys with us so that, people can find themselves in it, because I know that they will. I already am finding myself in the things that you're sharing.
I think you find your strength at various points, but I think, again, your story comes before mine in the book, so I come first.
Love it.
Jess really loves public speaking.
Wherever I am. But then generally take it back very quickly.
As soon as I get a word out, it's like, I'm okay now.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I'm good with this now, it's fine.
I grew up, actually, at my age, when I grew up, it was in the 70s, and growing up with a single mum wasn't the norm. So I spent a lot of time with her. There's a lot that went on before that, and my mum was ostracized from the family because of it. So it was pretty much me and her, except every other weekend, um, and um, that created me being very independent from a very, very young age, because I'd spend a lot of time on my own. Especially when I went to senior school, I would spend the majority of the time on my own. Having, later in life, finding out that I've got Asperger's, I didn't understand why. I didn't understand children. And so being in an environment, most of the time, the only people I sort of got to talk to were children. I didn't understand them. I didn't understand why they did what they did, because to me, it wasn't logical. Uh, so it requires to fit into that framework. And I still work like that today. I've gone through several different working environments where I've engineering things, computers, now the coding for this, the psychology. I see it all as engineering, all as building blocks. How do all these things work together? Why does that do that? Why does this do that? And that was one of the things that my mum gave me, that I was always a why child. And I wouldn't be satisfied until there was an explanation as why it all worked. And I still do that today. I still study psychology every day, because it's, how does this all work? Why do we do this? But it's not just the psychology. One of my real passions, one of my real loves, Don Miguel Ruiz. Don Miguel Ruiz is
agreement.
I thought you might have heard. Yeah, and I've come from the Freudian psychodynamic, which is what I did at uni, and several other bits before that and afterwards. But how he explains attachment theory is so much better than how the Freudian style, certainly in the English side of things, explain attachment theory. But it's in a more religious kind of, in that spiritual context of what it means. But he comes from the traditional psychology as well. It's just that his background is shamanic, because that's where his family's from. And so, yeah, it's all of the interplay of the entire world. And that's what I love. I love seeing how it all works, how it all blends together, and how I can share what I see with others. And that's actually been my biggest thing, is communication, is learning how to communicate what I have in here out to people. And that's still something I work on every day.
So you said, Gareth, that you have Asperger's. And so when did that come to the knowledge that you had that? And then where did you see when you were growing up that it was that was a bit challenging for you, difficult in relating with other people, possibly? What did it look like for you?
So I got diagnosed in my late 30s, sort of late 30s, 40. And I was coming to the end of a really challenging relationship. I've married a woman that was an absolute narcissist. and that transforms into the backstory of why, and why how I was trying to resolve other relationships through the relationships that I currently had, because I didn't feel able to do that through the other ones, and seeing how this works. But I was going to a friend who's a shaman, and I was learning some meditation, because that's what my mum had learned, because my mum had died when I was 18. She went away for the weekend and never came back. Wow. And that was challenging. She was the only constant, and she's gone. So that took me a long time. And actually, funny enough, I'm getting a bit emotional. It's her anniversary this weekend. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. So Easter is, yeah, she went away for Easter. So yeah, there's that, but that taught me so much. And coming back to a point earlier that you were saying, and Jess was saying, we were talking about this morning, autonomy. Unless you understand that you can do these things for yourself, Where is your self-confidence built? Where is your self-belief? Where is your self-faith? Where is any belief in yourself built unless you actually do these things for yourself?
You were saying that when you did get the formal diagnosis, as
yeah.
It actually simplified it for you, didn't it?
Yeah.
That's how you usually describe it. Is it actually cleared up and explained, and you realised then that it was more of your superpower. It wasn't something that held you back. It wasn't a restriction. It wasn't a disability. It was actually a superpower. And then and that's what you've harnessed, and that's what we harness now. We harness your superpower for our business. It's the ability to hyper focus has just propelled us professionally so much.
It does come with its challenges. When you watch someone with autism, and sort of the difference that I see with autism and Asperger's, and I know they've changed sort of the definitions of these at the moment, but Asperger's tends to be what's considered high functioning, and autistic tends to be the other end of that spectrum. And when you watch someone, there's a lad that can draw. He can look at something and he can draw it window for window. He can look at and he can detail it all. But you interrupt him, and he doesn't know how to deal with that, because he's in that moment. He's in that present time, and that's one of the things that comes with the hyper focus, is that it's like any distraction it becomes a big distraction. But the other point of that is that I can work for days almost without stop. And that's how we built the app, is that we didn't know how to code.
Okay, so wait. Okay. I mean, we live in a society that is so fractured with distractions. I mean, everything coming at us is full of distractions. So what you're saying is that one of the gifts behind, I'm sure there were multiple gifts that you discovered about your own soul and your own self through this, was the fact that you could be present. And fully present, like deeply present.
Oh, absolutely, on one thing. And just absolutely delve into that one thing. I found it in different parts of my life. Jess was saying it sort of all made sense when I got a diagnosis.
Sure.
Because before that, I'd done an Ironman. And there isn't much that I don't know about how feet work, because I was flat-footed, because I didn't have an inner arch. So barefoot running is now a big thing for me, because I understand how all the bones in the feet work, and I understand how the structure of that works, and that went on to the massage. And I really dive deep.
I think that's what gave us the ability to do what we did on creating the app, because when Gareth gets an idea, he runs with it. He doesn't just run with it. He gets a sledgehammer and he pounds down anything that's in his way, regardless. So so we've been working together anyway, and we've built up a really successful company with private clients, and we knew we wanted to have this sort of member area, and that kind of grew. And Gareth had like, well, how can we get what we do out to help more people? Because our whole intention was to help as many people as possible. And the only way we could really do that, because obviously we are just human and we can't be everywhere, but we wanted to get everywhere. We wanted to help everyone. So we realised that the only way to do that is an app. That's the only way we can get out globally. We didn't know how to code then. We're going back a couple of years now. We didn't know how to code. We didn't know how to develop an app. We certainly didn't know how to create our program, because the program within the app is our own trademark program, using like the psychology of human behavior, nutrition, holistic health. How do we get that into an app? So when we work with clients, we're one-on-one, we get to integrate, we get to communicate, we get feedback. How do we incorporate that into an app so that the user can just use the app? So how do we do that and code it and develop it? We didn't know how to do any of that. So Gareth's ability to just go, right, okay, hand it down, forget everything else. At that point, we sold off, Gareth sold his house to fund it, so he could just literally focus on that. He learned to code enough to then teach me, to be able to then join him. And then between us, it took us, 2.5 years?
Yeah.
To code this program, to turn it into a live program, into an app form, and then create it onto a platform. So like when we eventually got it up onto the app stores, the celebration was like, did we just do that? we just done that. It was huge. And I think even now, because we're I mean, it's established on the app stores now, and it's doing really, really well. But every now and again, we sort of catch ourselves. It's like, we actually did that. Like, how did we do that? But it was the ability to hyper focus enough to learn it himself and teach me. Thankfully, I'm quite focused anyway. But when you're in the right environment and that's harnessed, we just put literally every ounce of everything we are into this program so that we can get it out to as many people as possible. That was the, so when we say it's not just a business, it's not just an app, it is everything we've learned, because we've both been in a position where we were so stuck. We didn't know how to get out of the world we were in, but we did. And we wanted to, as I've said before, give that to everyone else, but not at a cost, because there are apps out there, there are help out there, there's amazing help out there, but not when you've got no money.
Exactly.
And that's what the app, I mean, the app is $3.99 a month, because obviously we do have costs to cover. It's $3.99 a month, and that's it, because we made a promise that this help has to be accessible to everybody. And it can't be, if it comes at a price tag of £20 a month, the people who need this sort of help the most haven't got £20 a month. They haven't got £15 a month.
They might not even have 10. They might not even have 5. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So it is out there. It's $3.99 a month. We do work with charities as well, where we fund it and we give it to people for free in certain circumstances. But the whole passion, so when we say it's not just an app, it's not just a business, it is literally our passion. It's what drives us because of lived experiences. And it's through the hyper focus that Gareth has this amazing ability to do, and has enabled me to as well, because the environment he creates, that's what's driven us forward to create what we've created.
My gosh, you guys, see, as I'm talking to you, there's an embodiment. This is the thing with you both. There's an embodiment with what you've created. You know how sometimes you can have people talk and they're like talking out of their ass, really? They're really not, sorry, my French there, but they're not poor French, but they're not talking about anything that they really have, like, it's like in their DNA, and you can almost feel it in you guys. Like, it's like come into your DNA and it's like coming out. Like, I can feel the energy on it. I'm like, oh my God, the energy. So Jessica, I know that you shared a little bit of your story, Gareth. Thank you. Jessica, can you share a little bit of your journey as well? I know these are tidbits of your journey, but what brought you to
absolutely. So again, like anyone's journey, there's been roller coasters and there's bits you can pick at. Everything within my world has always, I've always dealt with it through food. So whether it's restriction of food, over exercising, I call it the binge restrict cycle, and that started from a very early life, and sort of materialized throughout. And that's what I try and help people with now, and that's what we incorporate again into the app. But it's helping people to understand that when you're in a situation where you are restricting food, you are terrified of food. Food literally controls your day, your whole world, whether it's over exercising. It's helping people to understand it's not about the food. It's got nothing to do with the food. It's not a diet. There's something in your world that has happened or is happening that is causing that reaction. And it's helping people to identify what that is and to help them overcome that, face that, pick it apart, and then be able to leave that behind. Because as soon as that starts to dissolve, you then get to take, I'm going to use the word control, and I hesitate at using that word because it's one word that Gareth really dislikes. Yeah. I use it because I understand my intention behind that word, but I always hesitate at that word because I know it's one that Gareth doesn't like. But once you help people to understand what is causing them to react, to try and take control of their life using food and exercise, then that cycle tends to dissipate. And again, that's the other thing that we've brought into I keep bringing it back around to the app because it embodies everything. So it's helping people to identify their triggers. It helps people to be okay with looking at their past and being okay with it and finding peace within themselves. And ultimately, it's about learning to love themselves. That's what the program of the app is about. So it's looking at food and it's explaining the health implications of food and how it's connected to mental health and moving the body and how all that works on a physiological basis and on a mental health basis. But ultimately, it's about creating and repairing that relationship within yourself. So being okay with your past, being in love with who you are, or loving yourself for who you are now, and then focusing forward and taking yourself to where you want to go, and really, really having that belief that that goal that you've got is achievable and that it isn't beyond what you deserve and it isn't beyond what you're capable of. And because of everything you've been through, you are who you are now, and you can go and get that. And that's, again, that's what the app is about. And that's what my story has kind of brought me to the realization of. So I used food to hide various things throughout my life. And that was my part of going into the app. And that's the side we put in there.
Well, Jess is belaying a lot of what she from my perspective, the way I see psychology, as I said, I see it like engineering, I see it building, and it can take me quite a while to pick apart bits and understand them and understand why. And Jess said about the word control, and the way she used it was perfect. It's when people try and control things, but they're doing it, but they don't know why. And so the way she just used control, perfect. We've got time. I'll explain why I think those words are really, really challenging. But and why they're really not good for us. But when I turned around to Jess and said, I explained to her about the words when I first met her, and she just went, "Oh yeah, that makes sense," and just did it. And it's like, that took me like 5 years. And she just, okay, yeah, that makes sense, and just gets it. So when she's talking about me being able to do what I do, and sort of on the programming side, I can focus. Jess can see the bigger picture while I'm doing that. And she takes care of all the other bits and pieces and allows me to do that. And without that partnership, it doesn't work.
We are a very good partnership when it comes to that. But, yeah. We're also very good about speaking about each other's strengths as opposed to. But that's not to say we don't acknowledge our own, because we've been.
No, I know.
Say and share. We also practice.
Yeah.
So one of the things Gareth has actually taught me, because all the years, for many years before meeting Gareth, I was going through my own, I call it self-counselling, because I didn't realise that's what I was doing at the time. And so I explained it to Gareth, and he said, "You do realise you were self-counselling?" Well, okay, if that's what I was doing, it's worked. But one thing Gareth really did help me with is one of the practices, again, that's on the app, called Ho'oponopono, which is a traditional Hawaiian. Yes. So that's one of the elements within the app. It's one of the daily practices. And it's one that Gareth actually shared with me. And I wasn't able, for all the work I had done, I still wasn't able to say, "I love you." I wasn't able to say it to myself. Because that's a really hard thing to do for many levels. And Gareth enabled me to do that. So although we are very good at talking about each other's strengths, we are very good also at acknowledging our own strengths, because we are aware of what we are capable of, and we are aware of who we are, and we are very thankful for who we are. So yeah, we can talk about each other's strengths, but that's not to say we're not in acknowledgement of our own as well.
So can you share what that Hawaiian medicine is for those who maybe are listening and don't know what it is?
I'll let you.
Oh, okay. It sounds like a very simple practice. It's got four phrases. I'm sorry, and all of these to be said to yourself. I'm sorry, as in through an acknowledgement of what's gone on, whether you put yourself in a situation, whether you talk to yourself in a certain way, whether you do certain things. It's an acknowledgement of that, and that's the first step in any recovery. Thank you for actually acknowledging it. It's a gift to yourself to do that. Thank you for doing this for me. Please forgive me. It's that self again. And it's just re-bringing it into yourself and saying, I'm really sorry for that. And then you can pick that apart. I love you. And that's the most challenging thing. I ask many people that in lots of different circumstances. And the amount of people that are unable to say it, I would say, is the majority. And that's the saddest thing, that we're not taught to love ourselves in a non.
If you're unable to truly love yourself, and liking yourself is a really good place to start. If you can learn to like yourself,
Yes.
and then take that further to love yourself. If you're not in that position where you can love yourself for everything that you are, how can you truly accept or believe the love of someone else? If someone else then says, I love you, how can you believe they love you? Because what qualities do you think they love you for? If you can't see them in yourself, how can you put that belief that somebody else loves you? And if you don't love yourself, then why would you protect yourself when someone else is trying to be unkind to you? Why would you defend yourself? It's not just about, oh, I love myself, and that is fundamentally important, because without that love for yourself, any relationship there's going to be a barrier there, and anyone being unkind to you is going to be allowed to do it because you're not going to defend yourself, because you don't feel that you deserve to. And one of my favorite quotes we use all the time is, once you learn to be kind to yourself, you will no longer tolerate the unkindness of others. I love that quote. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And to be kind to yourself is an act of love. So it's so important to start from a place of love, and to learn to love yourself. Speak to yourself, treat yourself as you would someone you truly love. Because why wouldn't you love yourself? Look at everything we've been through. Look at every situation you've got through. And you're here in this form, enjoying the sunrises. Like, why wouldn't you love yourself?
It feels like we have a generation of people feeling so unworthy and so unloved. And I'd like you both, if you can, both of you, to speak to that even more than what you're doing right now, because you're talking about love. But let's speak a little bit to that unworthy feeling, that, like, where does that come from? Why do we have that from, like, the time we're like born? When you're born, it's great. And then, like, at the age of 2, 3, 4, 5, all of a sudden everything begins to shift. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Who taught you to tie your shoelaces?
My dad.
Okay. So for most people don't even remember. I use this analogy because it's the basis of who you are. It's a simple exercise to tie your shoelaces. Now, if I question how you tie your shoelaces, if I say you tie your shoelaces wrong, I'm offending your dad. Who taught him to tie his shoelaces?
Oh gosh, you're offending generationally. His dad, and then his dad before him. And yeah.
And that's where all of this stems from.
Yeah.
It's hand-me-down beliefs. We don't question this. And if we don't question it, I wrote this last night, and I've got some ideas for it. But if you don't change your script, your story won't change. And that's the power of words. It's the words that you use in here, in here.
I think that has developed over time as well. I mean, because it's still a thing from our generation, and when we go back, we didn't have. I'm going to bring sort of social media and things into it, but we didn't have that then. We didn't have the social medias, but it was still a thing then. But I think it has escalated over the years, because we're constantly being shown these images and these idealisms that if you don't look like this, and if you haven't got this car, and if you haven't got this house, and you haven't got this job, and if you're not the most successful entrepreneur earning £10,000 a month, then you're a nothing. Why aren't you even trying? Why aren't you getting up at 5 a.m. every morning and going, like, there's all this pressure. And if you can't meet up to this pressure, then you feel less than. Who's out there saying, so what if you get up at 10 o'clock? Yeah. And was she ready? Is that when you're ready to get up? That's fine. Get up when you're ready to get up. Go to sleep when you. Where's all the pressure? You don't have to train for 3 hours in the gym to be perfect. You don't have to wear this lovely suit and be this particular body size or have that job. Without all this pressure, if we were just allowed to be, and if somebody out there was to say it's fine to just be. We're human beings. I think if that pressure was removed, I think we'd see a lot more people feeling a lot more worthy. But I think that worthiness has been stripped from us because it's everywhere we look, and it's even more so now because the images we're seeing on social media used to be of the perfect body, then it was the perfect Photoshop, now it's the perfect AI image, and it's just getting more and more and more, and it's impossible to live up to all these idealisms. That's why I think it's one of the reasons why it's getting worse as well. So you put that scenario into where you're growing up, where you haven't necessarily had this big self-belief in yourself anyway, combined and impacted by what's going on the socials and what's shoved in front of us all the time. The impact and the blowout of that, or the fallout of that, is huge, I think.
Yeah, and it's also externalizing your externalizing anything that you know that to be within you. So love is an internal feeling, but if you're looking for it outside, and that's what the social media does, you know, we've done it traditionally with relationships. Oh, they are everything to me. No, you are everything to you.
That's correct.
I really like hanging out with you because you are you. You're the best version of you, and that's one of the agreements that we came to when we first met. Was that I want you to be the best version of you. You want me to be the best version of me. That's really cool.
Yeah, and on a professional level, that's the only way it's ever going to work. If we can help each other grow professionally, then and personally as well. Yeah. But if we stop, if we try to ever restrict one another, for example, if one of us finds a project that isn't necessarily doing what we're doing, but it means their personal growth, and we're going to support each other in that, of course. Yeah.
It's interesting. My partner and I were talking, and you know, she's a psychotherapist, so it's a lot of fun with her. But she said, you know, this whole idea of, you know, my better half, or all of this, and she goes, wait a minute. She said that she's all about, like, it's two whole people coming together, not your Gareth one half and just you. It's two whole people coming together in whatever type of relationship, whether it's romantic, whether it's professional, whether it's whatever it is. It's two people coming together. And that whole thing about this is my better over here. Imagine what that is doing, that mindset that's getting into you of how, well, you're just better than me. You know, you're better. And then they say, well, you're my better half. And it's just like, oh my God, where did we get to this? I mean, I could take it through religion all the way down and, you know, totally destroy it there, because a lot of the systems are set on separation. We are separate from each other. We're not together. We're not included within each other. It's all separation. Yeah. You know, if you're my better half, well, then you're separate from me. You know, because you're better, you know, and it's just, anyway, sorry.
No,
done.
Agree a whole lot of them. When people say, oh, you complete me, you are my happiness. It's like, no, it's not about being someone's happiness. It's about enhancing each other's happiness, which should already be full. Like, your happiness is within you, is not dependent on someone else. We both love music. I mean, we're both very musical people. Well, you're a musical person, I enjoy music. And so many songs have been, because we're very particular with our words. So now when we listen to songs, we have to switch them off. Because it's all about, I can't live without you. You complete me. You are my everything. I thought I was complete until I met you. Then I realised, is that, can we stop this? It's mad.
Yeah. And on the flip side of that, the ones where they're putting people down, you know, and the names being called, and your visceral response is beautiful for me to see, because that's how I feel. My stomach churns to hear people attacking and picking. I know where that goes. I know where that leads, and to hear that is it's like you might as well just be punching them in the face, because the brain doesn't know any difference between physical and mental harm. It just sees harm. And it acts accordingly. But with physical harm, at least you can see a bruise.
But that goes back into what you were saying. When you're saying that to someone, you are my better half, my other half. If that person goes for any reason, what are you left with? Are you now saying you're just half a person? Like, what's...
Right, exactly, 50%. Like that. Oh my gosh. But there's so much... Oh, there's so much I could go down, so many different tracks here with this. So
Absolutely.
Jessica, I want to come back to something with you because, as we're talking about, you were talking about the mind, our bodies remember, and you're a nutritionist. Okay.
Mhm.
And our bodies remember everything we've been through. They remember
Yeah.
those words that you're talking about, Gareth, that are spoken. It
Mhm.
is, it's interesting. My upbringing was religious, and there is some, good scriptures there that talk about, words can be like daggers. And they do. And they impact this very temple, this body that we're in. So Jessica, talk a little bit about that and how we have memory in our bodies and what we can do to undo some of that memory. Because I can find even in my own self now that there's been a lot of healing that's happened emotionally and mentally, but I'm still working on things even within my own physical body. So can you talk about that?
I think whether it's words or physical, whatever harm, whatever trauma's been through, it comes right back to your relationship with yourself again, and
Mm.
it's understanding that the person inflicting that wound, whether it's physical, whether it's with words, they're doing so from their perspective, and it's more telling about them and their relationship with themselves as
Yes.
opposed to them trying to cause harm within you. And I think as soon as you can understand and have that separation between what's been done to you from someone else
Mm.
and pull that away from you and understand it's got actually nothing to do with you, that's not your world, that's them, you can then start to heal from that, because you can let it go. You realize that the words that person said weren't yours, that they were theirs, and if you can let that go, you can heal that wound.
So
So
how do you let that go? Like what are some practices or things or tools that we're coming to your app soon here? But so what are
Oh
some
no.
um, it,
Okay, just to give Jessica, this is what she used to do. So please explain what you used to do and how you used to work through these things on your own.
so each night, I'm going back, and this was a practice that I did over a long period of time.
Yeah.
I would I'd say go to sleep. I'll go to bed, and I would play through my life story. And every time I got to a section that triggered me, I would stop there, and I would sit in that moment, and I would pick it apart, and understand it, and then the next day I would do the same. And if I got stuck at the same point, I'd do the same. And then eventually you get past that point because you've analysed it and you've picked it apart, and you get to sit with it and you're okay with it, and you've understood everyone else's parts within that, including your own part within that. And as soon as I had started to understand my own part within each of these situations and understood everyone else's part, I could then, the next night, I would get through and I'd get past that point. So, oh, that didn't trigger me. And then you get to the next bit, and then you find the next trigger and you do the same. And I did that every night for a long time until I could unpick it all. And so I got to the point where I can actually talk about various aspects now and not get almost unemotionally, if that even makes sense. It's not unemotionally. I'm a very emotional person, but I'm not triggered by these things anymore because I've unpicked them and I've understood everyone's part within that play, and I've understood my part within it, and I can sit okay with it because it was never about me. It was everyone else doing, and I can't change them. That's up to them to change them. That's not my responsibility. I'm good with me, and I'm good with how I've lived through it all and where I'm going. So I was able to unpick it. So that's how I personally dealt with it. And there are, within the app, there are sections that help people to kind of do the same in a
Well,
in a softer approach.
yeah, we're working on that all the time. Ho'oponopono is a big one of those, because what Jess is saying there is, that is that in practice. It's finding something that hurts, and it's going, why? Well, why does that hurt? And I think that's the big thing. Power of why. Ask why.
Mhm.
And question these things, because unless you do, like Jess did, what Jess did was a counselling session. There's no difference in that in a counselling session, and she learned to do that just instinctively.
I was going to say always being able to listen. People call it the gut feeling. That's
Oh,
pretty much what it is. But being able to listen to yourself, and never ignore that. and that will always take you in the right direction, even if it doesn't feel like the right direction. That will take you in the right direction. And I think if you don't steer too far away from your gut instincts, I don't think you go too far wrong. And that's true of whether it's a decision you have to make or a feeling that you're following. Yeah. Follow your instincts and allow it to develop.
And you're teaching how to sit with something too. We don't sit with things, do we? It's the fight or flight. We gotta do something. I gotta react. And I would say with me that for years before I went through any type of healing, it was a lot of fight and flight. I could not just sit in that. I didn't want to sit in it, first of all. And why are you telling me to sit in it? Because I did a lot of therapy and different things. But now it's one of my favorite spaces. So what you're talking about, just being able to sit with yourself, allowing whatever comes up, not judging either, right? I don't hear anything in you judging what's coming up, even as ludicrous as it might be. And even if it's so not even truth, it's in there. And it needs to come up and it needs to come out. And I love what you're sharing there. It's like a non-judgment approach to just sitting with yourself.
Absolutely. Allow yourself to feel it. Don't allow it to absorb you. Don't become it. Allow yourself to feel it, and then you're able to move on from it.
Yeah. But interestingly, the one of the things that you didn't include in the fight and flight is the freeze.
Oh yeah, freeze, right?
Yeah, but I think that's no, it's, yeah. But it's the one that gets left out, and I think it's almost the most important. And it's what drives people to avoid what they're doing, because it's like, oh my God, I don't even know how to begin. At least if you're fighting it, you're actually dealing with it. If you're running away from it, you've got distance. If you freeze, it's there.
It's the one that instigates the most fear, especially when it's over a prolonged period of time. You'll find yourself stuck in the freeze, and that in itself is the dangerous point, because once you're stuck in freeze, you're so vulnerable to being what word am I looking for? Re-triggered.
You're so vulnerable. Just vulnerable.
But then there's also you've got fight, fright, freeze, but there's also fawn, and that's one that's very, very rarely talked about.
What is that? Say it again.
Fawn. So fawning is when you're stuck in the freeze response, or you're in a situation where you've got, I call them the aggressor, the person or the thing that is hurting you physically or mentally for a long period of time. Rather than fighting, being frozen or running, you try to appease. And over a long period of time, what you're trying to do is people please, because if you can please them, well, then they're not going to hurt you. If you can keep them happy, they're not going to hurt you. So people forget the fawning aspect. And if you've got that over a prolonged period of time, even if that aggressor's disappeared out of your life, well, you're a people pleaser now. That's because that's your go-to, because then no one's ever going to hurt you if you can please them. If you can always appease them, then they're not going to be aggressive towards you.
And this makes perfect sense of, you're my better half. I'm not complete without you. What can I do to serve you? And that. So where you were going, it just all cycles around.
Wow. Oh my God. Okay. So now I want you guys you've been mentioning throughout this about the app, and I want you just to hone in on that and just share whatever it is you'd like to share, because this has been a great, I love talking to you two. The energy, I'm serious, the energy of wholeness and the energy that you're carrying is really rich, really, really rich. So share about this app, because I might just get this app.
It's a really good app. It's one of my favorite subjects. In case I haven't noticed. It's a passion. It's a real passion, and it's our life work completely into an app. It's on the virus. I mean, we still see it every day. We use it daily. It's not just something we put out there. We use it every day.
That was one of the things when we built it. It was right. If we can't use this, if we don't want to use this every day, then it's pointless, and it doesn't worth. It's not worth existing. If it's not something that still helps us on a daily basis, then no, it's not good enough.
It also means, because we use it, if there's anything. Apps get bugs every now and again. If there's anything that doesn't work, or if I find myself not using an aspect of it, we know straight away. We can go into the office, we can fix it, because it's all in-house. There's no external developers, there's no third parties. We are the app. So if there's any elements on it that we find aren't working over a period of time, then it's like, right, okay, that requires fixing. We can do that. But it is, imagine a counsellor, a personal trainer, a nutritionist, a life coach, all into one.
Oh God.
That's what the app is. Like, you log into the app and it will take you through to the program, which is Audible, again, because it's working from both of our history. So for Gareth, it was really important that it's quite a long program, because it explains the whys. If we don't just say do this, do that, it explains the psychology behind it. So it was really important for Gareth that this wasn't a written piece, this was an Audible, so that anybody and everybody could have access to the program. So first of all, you're taken through to the program, which explains how the program works, and why the program works. And then every day you've got the different tasks that you get to tick off. And every day the tasks are physical, mental, and nutritional. So it covers all aspects. And you build this picture so that you've got at the end of it, every day, you can see that you've achieved all these things that you want to achieve. And when I say what you want to achieve, is because they're your goals that you're putting in there. You're asked to identify what you want to achieve. What habits you want to rebuild, because we're all about habits, and to create something new means breaking something old. So if you've got a habit that you want to get rid of and replace it with, well, then that's what the habit tracker does for you. So there's a habit tracker on there that keeps that monitored. For exercise,
If you don't do it, does it like tell you? Like, does it like what if you miss something?
It's you physically go in and you slide across to say that you've completed it, or you haven't, because it's about being able to look at yourself and be honest.
Absolutely.
And that takes time.
Yeah, it's a complete learning curve. At the end of either weekly or monthly, you get your balance goals. So it will show you where, if you've been focusing more on the fitness side than the mental aspects of it. So we're trying to create that balance, so you can see that actually you've looked at yourself holistically over that period, which is really important, because it's a holistic program. When we talk about the food, it's not about don't eat this, don't eat that. It's about, this is going to be really good for you. This is what that does for your body. This is what that does for your body. So it's helping you learn about food rather than put you on a diet. And then the whole time you're working through this, we've got little sort of psychological insights that go up there, little mindset moments that go up there. We've got the blogs, so we actually call them the blogcasts, because it's a podcast. It's a blog that's put again into Audible. So all these lessons are constantly uploaded on there as well, to help people understand that no one's going to be cross with them if they don't break that habit. It's not about anybody else telling you what to do. It's about you understanding what your goal is, why you want to achieve it, and helping people to want that for yourself, to find this purpose in your life and want it. So there's no finger blaming. So no one's going to come out and flick your forehead if you don't do anything.
You know,
It's just going to create this desire within you to be the better version of you, and the app kind of holds your hand and takes you through that process. That's kind of the idea behind it.
At the centre of the app is a focus board, because without a purpose, what are we? Why do we get up in the morning? If we don't have a purpose, we just float. We just drift.
But it is important on that aspect, sorry to interrupt. So on the physical side of it, and on the goal side of it, and the focus board side of it, again, it doesn't have to be this big thing. No. So going back to this pressure we all feel now, it doesn't have to be a big purpose. We're not saying your goal is, if you haven't got a goal or a focus board of saving the world and creating world peace, it's not about that. If your purpose is to get up and tend to your roses in the garden every day, that's your purpose, and it's a beautiful one. So it's about being comfortable with what your goal is. What is your goal, big or small? Doesn't matter what it is, but it's yours. So let's help you achieve it.
Well, one of mine at the moment is forward folds and frog stands. Because I want to be able to do handstands, but I want to be able to do them from the ground. But my flexibility is getting better and better, but was rubbish when I met Jess. So I want to be able to put my hands on the floor and go into a handstand. And to get to that point, I'm going to start with frog stands because that's the progression. So it's just a small thing, and I practice it each day.
So the focus board is made up of a short-term goal, so something you want to achieve within 3 months, a new skill, something you want to learn, a new experience. Think of something new you haven't done that you want to experience, and your long-term goal, which is something you want to achieve within the next 5 years. And within each of these elements, it's breaking it down into steps. So you understand that your 5-year goal, you're not going to get from here to there in one leap, because it will be really disheartening. So it's breaking it down. So if that's your goal in 5 years' time, what steps can you put in place this week to take you that step further? Okay, you've achieved those now. What next steps can you do? So, for example, going back to, I know it's not your 5-year goal, but going back to Gareth's goal of wanting to do a handstand. If he just went into the gym now and tried a handstand and he wouldn't do it, it'll be really disheartening. So let's build up on that. So if you want to do a handstand by the end of next month, okay, well, let's start with a frog stand. Or let's start with putting your hands on the floor. They're baby steps. And again, so that's one element of the app, is just showing people that your goal, big or small, can be broken down into these manageable steps. And then before you know it, you're going to hit your goal. Okay, what do you want to do next? You know, let's bring excitement back into the world.
But it's building purpose, confidence, belief, faith.
And that's just one aspect. That's just one aspect within the app.
Is having people like that's what I think. It's all about empowering you, but you're setting it at your own pace.
Absolutely, yeah.
Which then causes somebody to want to do it because it's at your own pace.
There's no rules. There's no you must do it at this. There's no what you didn't do it. There's none of that. It's just no. Let's you want to do that. That's awesome. Let's guide you. Because one of the other aspects within the app is the community group. So one of the buttons on the app takes you through to our community group, and where all the other users are on there, they're sharing what they're doing, they're giving their encouragement for everyone else. So it's a community of everyone on the same journey, but different journeys, because they've all got their own different journeys, but supporting each other in that movement. And it's just a beautiful thing to see, and it's just giving people purpose and confidence and saying, you're fine. You're good where you are. And where do you want to go? Let's help each other get.
Yeah, it's not like a checklist. You haven't mastered this, so guess what? You're going back here, pal. You know, I mean, like it feels to me like what it is doable. I mean, I totally want to get this app. So it's doable, and it's something that is like a long-term vision that keeps unfolding, it sounds like. Within the app, you keep coming up with ideas, don't you, to
we haven't even started on that.
We've only just begun.
Yeah.
We've just added AI into the activities. We don't call them physical fitness, we don't call it exercise, anything like that. It's an activity. An activity to someone could be going for a walk. There's nothing wrong with that. Exactly. It's a perfectly reasonable activity. For me, I'm getting ready to in 18 months do another Ironman. So, it's just different for each of us. But where was I going with that? Oh, yeah, we've added AI in. So you can build. So you put in there what your goals are, where you are, and what ages you are, if you've got any health conditions, and it can build your program. And that's just something we've added in the last month.
But that aside, you can already put your own program in there. So we've got the exercise side of it covered as well, the activity side of it covered as well. But again, that's not on a you must do this exercise. It's that's on a what do you want to achieve physically? Okay, well, you haven't got off the couch for 5 years. That's fine. Should we start by going for a walk around your house? You know, it's everybody's own thing.
Do you have? I mean, I know that this is new and it's unfolding as it's going, but things around menopause would be like lovely to have on there. And for I'm not feeling anything by that, but it'd just be so nice to have some tips and things.
It's not something that's on there yet, and that's only because I haven't got any experience. I wouldn't know how to advise, but funny you should say that, because I have been talking to a lady who does specialize in perimenopause and menopause, and she's going to be giving some of her insights. So that will be a blog, and that will grow on there as well. So yes, not as yet, but that will be something that's being added onto there, as will various different not treatments. So everybody works out, everyone trains, everyone eats for different things. So I've got what's called lipedema. So that's something completely different, and there's going to be lots of users on there with lipedema. So whilst it won't be an element within the app, there will be blogs going up there and insights going up there as to how you can manage that, and how not so much manage it physically, that will be on there as well, but how you can come to terms and be okay with it mentally as well. So yes, menopause and things like that will be on there in terms of advice and tidbits, but that will be from outside expertise with their own blogs that will be on the app.
So do people contribute to the blog? Is that how it works, or do you just only?
Not yet. Everything.
It's growing as it is.
All the blogs on there at the moment are ours, but we have had people ask if they can contribute. Yes, they can, but we are quite particular as to what goes on there. So obviously we vet everything that we would put on there, but yes, we're more than welcome. For example, talking about the menopause with this lady we're talking to, when she puts something out there, would happily put that up there because it's such a huge subject and it's so confusing. So that will 100% be on there.
But on another scale of that is that we're talking to a few restaurants. We've got some restaurants that we love, and there's one in Spain called Con Alma, and the food that she does is incredible, and the way that she breaks it down and sees how it nourishes you and why, and those are some of the recipes that hopefully are going to be coming.
She cooks for gut health, basically. So everything she does is all about the gut health. So the other aspect of the app, just to explain on that, we've got breakfast, lunch, and dinner menus. So again, when we said it's not about
man in my life right here. Okay.
So it's not about eat this, eat that, eat etc. etc. It's about here's some menus for breakfast, lunch, dinner, side dishes. Everything on here is food. That is food. It's wholesome food. Please just play with the recipes. So we're looking at, again, all the recipes on there are our recipes. We've also got food bank recipes on there because again we're going out to people who haven't got huge amounts of money as well. So when we said we want it to be accessible to everyone, we want it accessible to everyone, and we have got free users who have got no budget for apps, so they just get the app to help. So we've got recipes on there that incorporate ingredients that they can get from a food bank. So it doesn't exclude them either. And recipes that they can cook from ingredients from the food bank, and they only need a microwave to cook. So every element has been created on there. It is just an awesome app.
I can tell. Okay, so I'm
discussion.
throwing this out here as like a visioning thing, but something that I do is, because I did all this humanitarian work and I did it for decades, all overseas and everything. I was working in impoverished places. We were teaching people basic skills for eating. We were teaching people all sorts of different things. And I'm just throwing this out here, and this could be 10 years from now, but I think it would be lovely to go on like a vision trip with you. And what those are, what I do is we would go maybe to Africa or to, I just know so many places we can go, and you can teach basic nutrition, basic skills to different people. And I would just think that would be phenomenal to just host the two of you and take you into some of these villages that I know. Because there's, it's just, there's a big.
That would actually, that would be a conversation we would.
Yeah.
I'm saying we because
absolutely.
Would love to do something like that would be amazing.
The interesting part for us is that this is what we with the charity that we work with the most disadvantaged in our community. And we're currently spreading that out as well. And that's what you're saying about places in Africa. Mm-hmm. We've got places that are down the road,
right?
And we live near the sea. They've never even taken the children to the beach.
Yeah,
and we live on the beach.
Yes,
that's the level of understanding of life, let alone food. Yeah. And so we share what we do, and we're trying to build that out as well. So we're up for anything that's gonna
probably be like several years down the track. But the good thing is though, I have you to do this possibly with, because I've been trying to find different people that could come in and do some things, but that's all in my wheelhouse of my own little thing, because I eventually want to move into a charity and do all that.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
But I can see that it's now like an hour and 1 minute over. So, but I do just want to say to the two of you, this has just been a blessing to talk to both of you, to just hear snippets of your journey, but to hear this app that you guys have put out. You've sold me on it. I mean, it's affordable, and I think just people are going to really, really resonate with it. So where can people find you? You know, the little social links and all those little goodies.
Okay, well, we've got the website, which is Pocket Power Pro, as in pocket power. So that's the website. I was pointing to my pocket, by the way. I know you can't see that. Actually, it would have made more sense for the logo, wouldn't it? But, but Pocket Power is also on all the socials, and it is under Pocket Power app on all the socials. And Pocket Power app is also on both the app stores, Apple and Google.
Okay.
It's free to download. It's free for 7 days, and then it's just $3.99 a month.
I mean, it's not even $3.99 a week. You know what I mean? Like that. Oh, that just.
Again, because we did it in-house, we did it ourselves. Our overheads, what we charge is enough to cover just about the overheads. We've got no intention. This isn't a money-making thing for us at all. It's just pure passion.
Our intention is to try and help at least 1 million people.
At least.
Yeah, well, probably more. I mean, maybe.
Oh, absolutely.
More. And I think like, yeah, this just, with the way technology is going and everything, people are into apps, right? I mean, that's what they will do. And that's really incredible. So seriously, I could talk to you guys forever, but I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you for coming on and just being raw and being open and feeling freedom that you could share and that you could just be yourselves. I hope you felt that you were welcome here.
Oh, I was going to say, and thank you for, that's the environment created here, and that was amazing. So
thank you for allowing us in and giving us the space to do it. We love this and we love sharing it. So.
I know, I can tell. I can be like, it's got me all going. So, okay, so everybody, you heard where you can find Jessica and Gareth, and it's called Pocket Power. And I just encourage you to look at this app, because what I really believe they were sharing today was not just head knowledge, but they were sharing soul knowledge and they were sharing heart knowledge, and they have embodied their idea of wholeness and understanding that all of us can have that and all of us can change our lives, even if it's just the little things, and that can move into these big things. So I just really appreciate you, Gareth and Jessica, for being here. And you never know, I might have you on another time. So this is
I'd love to. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.